On this week's Political Figure episode, we've got the Wish.com version of Elon Musk and the guy I wasn't going to do a video about, but he made me look up what edging was, and I'm mad about it. Vivid Swampassery. Vivek Ramaswamy was born August 9th, 1985, embarrassingly for us millennials, in Cincinnati, Ohio, because of course, nothing good ever comes out of Ohio. It's like the Florida of the almost Midwest. Vivek's parents are first-generation Hindu immigrants from India. Hindu is a beautiful, vibrant, colorful culture and religion, one of the core tenets of which is reincarnation. That means they believe that when your body passes on, your spirit comes back in another form, like a plant or an animal or a douchebag. Despite being Hindu, Vivek graduated from a private Catholic high school for some reason. While at Harvard, in his spare time, he donned the rap name Davek. He did shitty covers of Eminem songs and libertarian-themed rap music. Because why not? I didn't know libertarian-themed rap music was a thing, and I'm sad that that is information I now have in my brain, but since it is a thing, I can't think of anybody more appropriate to be singing it to a group of rich kids than Vivek. And really just to close out the douchey libertarian vibes, while at Harvard, he also interned for a hedge fund and Goldman Sachs. Some real bootstrap beginnings. And then he got a postgraduate fellowship with the Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship for New Americans. Yeah, those Soroses, you know, the ones that fund Antifa and everything. And attended Yale to get his Juris Doctor. While at Yale, he joined a Jewish discussion society for Jewish leadership. So to recap, he's a Hindu guy who graduated from Catholic school and decided he had some business being a part of a Jewish discussion society. He's cultured, I guess, kind of like a petri dish. He also met his future wife while at Yale, Aporla, I think, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, I am very white. It seems appropriate because when people hear that Vivek is married, they often respond with, Porla girl. After Yale, Vivek's career went exactly like you'd expect, doing all the douchey shit tech and finance bros do, starting a social networking website thing that you've probably never heard of, and worked for the hedge fund QVT, specifically in biotech, trying to make your healthcare more expensive, and then struck out on his own and started his own pharmaceutical investment company called Roivant, ROIVANT, and ROI literally stands for return on investment. I cannot overstate that this guy's douchiness is so on the nose that if it glowed, he could put Rudolph out of a job. And probably would if it meant a better return on investment for the shareholders. He even defended Martin Shkreli, you know, the pharma bro who's now in prison for fraud and somebody Vivek has done business with, saying that his prosecution was unfair because the crimes were a victimless crime. So anyway, he spent a bunch of time with his Bermuda tax shelter headquartered Roivant and a bunch of its subsidiaries buying patents of other people's work and trying to pass it off as his own, even going as far as trying to call himself a scientist, which he is not. Despite failing to deliver on many of his promises to investors, Mumbai Musk has still managed to amass a wealth of nearly $1 billion. He also co-founded Strive Asset Management to be an anti-woke, like, hedge fund management company, because we all know the problem with the stock market today is it's too woke. And if the pick-me energy feels bad now, it gets worse, because he's running for president, but really more like running for vice president. Yeah, he joined the primaries, and now he has just spent immense amounts of time knob-gobbling Donald Trump. You know, pandering to your opponent is not usually a tactic most people go for when trying to win a presidential primary. But the pick-me energy doesn't stop there, because despite being Hindu and having participated in a Jewish discussion society at Yale, the untalented, unfunny version of Aziz Ansari claims to be a Christian nationalist, saying that America was founded on Christian ideals. Apparently, being a Hindu brown guy with a funny name he didn't feel would appeal to the Republican base he's desperately seeking attention from. That, or the fact that he worked for the Soroses and worked on a COVID relief fund, which is why he paid a dude to edit those things out of his Wikipedia page before joining the Republican primary. But hey, Volvo Run Kinda Shitty's personality isn't one-dimensional. There's more to him than just desperately seeking the approval of people who thinks he probably knows Osama bin Laden personally. He also has tons of ironic and horrible ideas. For example, knowing that no young people are dumb enough to vote for him or any Republican, he wants to raise the voting age to 25. Unless, of course, you can pass a civics test, which he wants to make sure you can't by eliminating the Department of Education. Now, this is the same guy who falsely claims that America was founded on Christian ideals. The guy who apparently doesn't know that making people pass tests to vote is unconstitutional. The guy who said on national television that the Constitution, a document written in 1787, was the document that, I quote, won us the American Revolution, a war that ended in 1783. The irony of a guy who has a campaign platform to bar people under the age of 25 from voting unless they can pass a civics test, a policy that would literally require a constitutional amendment, not knowing when the Constitution was written and that freedom of or freedom from religion is a big part of the very first fucking amendment in it, is excruciatingly just soul-crushing. Harvard, Yale, your guys' degrees are really starting to lose their prestige with the idiots you keep giving them to. If Corruption Kumar actually makes it to the White Castle on Pennsylvania Ave, he wants to eliminate 5 government agencies. The FBI, which, you know, when you're a shitty tech pharma finance bro and you have shitty tech pharma finance bro friends, getting rid of the agency whose job it is to investigate you and your shitty friends for doing shitty stuff makes some sense, I guess. Then getting rid of the Department of Education, which we've covered because educated people would never vote for his dumb policies, and also fuck poor people. The Department of Agriculture, Food, and Nutrition Services, because once again, he cannot stress this enough, fuck poor people. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission, because nothing bad ever comes out of unregulated nuclear power plants, weapons, and materials. And the ATF, which, you know what, fuck those guys. The ATF should have been abolished a long time ago, so yeah, broken clock, I guess. Don't worry, even if he's not planning on axing your favorite government agency specifically, he plans on making it completely ineffectual by firing 75% of federal employees. Now, aside from the fact that that would completely kneecap the entire federal government and likely destabilize national and global security and economic stability, I can't imagine that the federal government, being the nation's largest employer, firing nearly 2.25 million of its civilian employees, and God knows how many if we include its non-civilian employees, would have any negative socioeconomic impacts on our country or the world. He's got equally moronic policies on things like foreign policy and climate change and energy, where he says that he believes in climate change, but trying to address it is a hoax. It goes without saying that his genuinely moronic policy platforms, his attempts to appeal to young voters by telling them they shouldn't legally be allowed to vote, and the fact that he's attempting to pander to a group of people who probably wonder how he made it over the wall Mexico paid for, means he's polling at a pretty abysmal 7% in the primaries. So he's been trying some other things to put himself a step ahead of the overwhelming charisma of Ron DeFascist, unhinged laugh and pudding fingers, like busting out his old alter ego Da Vec and doing some shitty Eminem covers at campaign stops. Because nothing speaks to Republicans like the real Slim Shady sending you a cease and desist letter. With that being an abysmal failure, he has now taken his Dead Eyes Vote for Pedro vibes to TikTok, where he's posted a bunch of videos that don't really say anything at all, but do include a much less talented Vote for Pedro style dance with poorly color matched and highly concussed boxer Jake Paul. His videos so far have just resulted in a massive amount of comment ratio with great trolling and a bunch of people commenting that I edged to you. So much so that it became a trending comment that's literally in the auto search bar under Vivek's videos and the first thing that comes up when you search for him. And because I'm a crotchety old man, I had no idea what that meant. And if you don't either, you'll have to come to Urban Dictionary to figure it out. However, thinking about Vivek might make you want to stop right before you get there. Anyway, now we're up to date, and that's how it's going for him. And he's on TikTok, so you can go tell him personally about how his campaign fails to arouse you. And if he doesn't manage to figure out something soon, which I think we can all agree we hope he doesn't, his campaign will likely end before it really reaches its climax.